When you're thinking of buying or selling a home, you're likely focused on the number of bedrooms, square footage, location, and even more. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you might want to have your real estate agent take a look at for you. Dawn Chadwick, a real estate agent at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties, is here to explain a few legal things to know about home ownership. Welcome, Dawn.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So first of all, explain the difference between title and deed.
Well, if you want to take an easy way to look at it is you go out and buy a pair of tennis shoes and they're yours. So it's basically ownership. And then you get a receipt and that proves that that's kind of like the deed of it. The receipt proves that you have legal right to that. So if you think of title, you just hold title on a property. And then the deed is actually the legal document that is filed with the county where the property is located. So it's a little bit different because sometimes you'll ask people if they have their title and they shouldn't, because it's really just the concept of ownership.
Okay, so that's a really good way of putting it. So it's something that you actually, do you have it in your hand physically?
No, the deed is actually always at the county recorder's office.
Okay.
So you really don't ever have it in your hand. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So when it comes to real estate, what are the different types of home ownership?
Well, we have more than 7 of them, but the 3 that are most common in residential real estate are sole ownership, joint tenancy, and tenants in common. Sole ownership is just like it sounds, it's the property is owned by one person. Then you have joint tenancy, which means equal shares of the property are split between the owners. This is the most common. Joint tenancy also has the right of survivorship. So kind of a good story here is I have a listing coming up that they're both aging and he's in failing health. And I asked them, I'm like, do you know how you hold title? And they didn't. So I did some research for them and found out they actually held it in tenants in common. And basically that means that 2 or more people own it at the same time, but their percent of ownership doesn't have to be the same. And there's no right of survivorship. So should something have happened to him before we list his house and their tenants in common, she would end up having to go through lawyers and probate before she could actually sell the house. So it's one thing to keep in mind when you are going to sell your house is how you hold that deed. And I've had that conversation with my parents and my in-laws as well, just to make sure that they're set. It's not the easiest conversation to have, but it's definitely a needed conversation.
Absolutely, yes. What then is the title insurance, and is it always needed?
Well, to put it simply, title insurance is just a way to protect yourself from financial loss and related legal expenses in the event there's a defect in the title. So title insurance differs because you pay for it. It focuses on the back end of it, like if you have insurance on your car, it's something that happens in the future, where title insurance pays for somebody coming up from the past that says they own that property. Title insurance also takes the place of abstracts in some states too.
Oh, okay, so what are property abstracts?
Basically, a property abstract is a document that summarizes the ownership record of that piece of land. So it basically is a history of that property, just the land, not even the house. It tells you how many times it's changed hands, and it's kind of nice to look back through them because you'll see the history. If you're a history buff, you can see how long the land, like when the land was owned by the railroad, when it was deeded from a husband to a wife. I saw one that was deeded with love and affection and $1. So that was kind of fun to actually look at.
Yeah. So can you find them both in North Dakota abstracts, in North Dakota and Minnesota?
Yep. Some cities and some states are actually leaning towards title insurance because abstracts are sometimes hard to find. Obviously, we had the flood of '97 in Grand Forks, and up in Minot, that a lot of abstracts were destroyed in those events. And so they're doing title insurance because the title insurance is going to protect them more, and it's going to be probably more cost effective than having to rebuild that abstract.
Okay. So, Dawn, how do we get in touch with you? And if we have any other legal questions when it comes to real estate?
You can reach me at 701-306-1250 or Dawn at bhhspreproperties.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much for being with us today. And are there lots of homes out there for sale?
No, it's a good time to sell properties. We only have about 2 months of inventory left in the price point of 250 and under. So yeah, 1.9, I believe, is what the chief economist for the NAR said yesterday. So it is a good time to sell.
All right. That's one thing to keep in mind, everybody out there. So thank you so much, Dawn Chadwick.
Absolutely.
Coming up on today's show, your eye on entertainment, which includes some exciting news from Paul McCartney.
At Luther Family Ford, certified pre-owned means peace of mind.